To finish up this lecture, I'm going to talk about contemporary political parties and how they're organized, what they do. I provided a chart on the left side. I have discussed the temporary organization is shown. On the right side, the permanent organization. We'll touch on both of these rather quickly. Under temporary party organization, the lowest level is the Precinct Convention. It's the lowest level of party organization. It's held in March. The convention is open to anybody who participated in that party's primary. However, attendance is minimal. Usually only 2 to 3% of those who voted at that precinct stick around. The convention happens after the polls close. It selects delegates to the county senatorial district conventions. It helps make resolutions for the county convention. Like I said, attendance is very minimal. If you ever plan to participate in politics, or even if you don't, if you want to go into business, I can't help but recommend participating even at this low-level precinct convention. The networking you're able to do, you're able to meet future politicians, future business owners. Even if you don't volunteer to go to a higher level, to go to the county / senatorial district convention, just go meet people, volunteer. Networking will not hurt you at all. Okay, so precinct convention, we go to the county convention, we select people to go to the state convention. Both the Democratic and Republican parties in Texas hold state conventions in June of even-numbered years. These conventions are important. The major functions: we elect state party officers. We elect members of the state executive committee. We adopt a party platform. We elect party nominees for the national convention. During the presidential election years, and we elect the 38 presidential electors. We elect nominees to send to the National Party Committee so that we can send these, they can vote for us. They can vote for the person that the state of Texas has voted to be our nominee. In this case, it would be, if you're a Republican, it would be Trump. If you were a Democrat, it would be Clinton. State party officers, these are just people who are going to lead the party down whatever road. We're going to take a stand. We're going to make decisions. The state executive committee, we're going to talk about. Adopt a party platform. The party platform is simply how we feel about things, where the Republican Party or the Democratic Party stands on issues. I have provided an example of the Texas Democrats Party platform, the Texas Republicans Party platform. If you don't know how a party feels, you can go here and look. For example, if you look under Texas Republicans, how do they feel about bilingual education? If you look at the second one down, that was not what I meant to do. How about we go back up? There we go. We see demand abolition of bilingual education. The best method is an English immersion program. How do Democrats feel about education? We believe the federal government should fully fund all federal education mandates and should reform and fully fund No Child Left Behind. The platform is important so that we, the people, we, the individual, know what our party believes in, we can sit here and say, well, are they a true Republican? Are they a true Democrat? Are they following the party platform? Are they following the beliefs? Or are they just posing as a member of this party to gain our vote? Party platform is very, very important. Permanent party organization. Temporary party organization occurs in election years. That's why it is temporary. Permanent party, always in existence. It leads the party between the permanent party leads the party, and provides continuity between elections. At the precinct level, the head of the permanent party, somebody called the chair. The chair serves for 2 years. They are elected to this position by precinct voters. They're going to organize party activities in the precinct. They're going to preside over the precinct convention, and the chair serves as a member of the county executive committee. Why is this position important? Why do we need to have some sort of activity even though it's not election year? Well, it's simple. We're organizing these party activities in the precinct so that our elected officials, so that our Republican officials, our Democratic officials, the wannabe officials, they can come to us. They can keep in contact with us, tell us what they are doing to make our situation better. Is it important to hear from your elected officials? Do we want to hear from them only when they want our votes, or do we want to hear from them on a more consistent basis to let us know what they are doing to earn our votes? These are why these activities are important. It gives a chance for the elected official to talk at a grassroots, at a low level, to the individual voters. Convince the voters, yes, continue to support me. Yes, I still have your best interest at heart. At the county level, once again, the head person of the permanent party organization at the county level is called the chair. They're elected for a 2-year term. They're elected in the party primary. They preside over the county executive committee. The county executive committee is very, very important. They have some major functions they need to fulfill. Let's look at these. Which one do we want to start? The first 3 go together: determine voting places, appoints election judges, rents voting machines. What's so important about determines voting places? Why is it important to get a good centrally located voting place? Well, you want to make it easy on your people to vote. So you want to have as large a turnout as possible. So we want to make it somewhere centrally located so everybody can get there. Renting voting machines, this is simply, are we going to rent the electronic voting machines? Are we going to do the paper ballot boxes? This is just to make it easier to count the total number of votes. Appoint election judges. We need election judges to determine, to make sure there is no cheating going on. There are a number of laws in Texas that are aimed at voting to make sure there is no intimidation, to make sure there is no cheating. The election judges are appointed to make sure that the rules are followed, that there is no cheating. Then finally, they certify official nominees. They say, yes, this is who is running. Yes, they meet all the qualifications. Yes, these are the results of the vote, of the primary. At the state level organization, still permanent party, once again, we have the chair. elected for a 2-year term. They preside over the state convention. Their job, one of the things they do, is they certify election runoff primary winners to the state convention. Go into greater detail about that later. Each party has a 64-member executive committee. We have members, 2 members from each Senate district, 31, so there's 62. And then we have members that are selected from the state level organization. We have 2. Their job: they determine the site for the next state convention. It seems to rotate between certain cities, but they will pick which city is going to host the next state convention. Also, they produce and disseminate press releases. This is what we're going to see throughout the year. The Republican Party or the Democratic Party is going to issue press releases trumpeting the good deeds of their party, the bad deeds of the other party. They're going to keep in mind, they're going to tell us to keep in mind what our Democrats or what our Republicans are doing to help us. This is to keep the party members fresh in our mind, in the forefront of our mind, to keep our party loyalty. So this is very important. These executive committees need to keep the party in our minds. I want to discuss for a second the percentage of voters indicating a major party. We're going to go to this in a second. But this is a switch. We talked about how the Democrats used to control Texas politics. Democrats won everything. If you won the Democratic primary, you won the election. If you go back to 1952, we see that 66% of Texans indicated they identified as a Democrat, or only 6% identified as a Republican. 20 years later, 1972, the numbers are still significant. 57% of Texans identify as a Democrat. Only 14% identify as a Republican. 1990, the numbers are getting a little more even. Republicans are making a lot of ground. 34% of Texans say they're Democrat. 30% say they're Republicans. 2002, Republicans have jumped ahead. 25% of Texans say they're Democrats. 37% of Texans say they're Republicans. 6 years later, we see a little bit more even keel. What I mean by this is 35% of Democrats or people of Texans identify as Democrat, and 36% of Texans identify as Republican. Can the Democrats still be competitive? Well, before we do this, we have to discuss why they're not. What happened to the Democratic Party in Texas? There is a thought that the Democratic Party in Texas went through something called a party realignment. And the party realignment is simply the transition from one stable party system to another, a shift in partisan identification. So what we're saying is that, yes, what happened was that people stopped identifying as Democrats and they started identifying as Republicans. It was that simple. That is what caused the Democrats to lose power. Well, if we look at why this happened, what caused this realignment, or what caused this power shift to go from Democrat to Republicans, there's things that we see that could help explain. In the 1980s, the U.S. as a whole elects President Ronald Reagan. He is a moderate Republican. He's a middle-of-the-road Republican. He is able to work with both Democrats and Republicans towards the greater good. He appealed to a number of Texas Democrats. and the Texas Republicans followed the lead of Ronald Reagan. So we see this working across the aisle, working together. So we see a number of Democrats go ahead and change their ID. They believe in what the Republicans are doing and what they are trying to accomplish. So we see this shift of partisan identification. Thanks to Ronald Reagan, we are no longer Democrats, we are now Republicans. One of the other things that affected the political power in Texas was immigration. And I'm not talking about immigration from outside the United States. I'm talking about immigration from other states. We had a number of people immigrate to Texas from outside, from within the United States, but they're moving to Texas, and they are Republicans. And they brought their conservative, their Republican views with them, and they joined the Republican Party, therefore bolstering the strength of the Republican Party and weakening that of the Democratic Party. We see long-term economic trends have helped benefit the Republicans. For the most part, we have, over the last 20 or 30 years, the economic trend is we have made money. Yes, we've had some recessions, but that's normal. That's nothing to be concerned about. We saw, in the 1980s, we saw our economy improve. A number of people made money, they got richer. And we tend to want to vote, or we tend to vote our pocketbook. If people are making us rich, we are going to vote for those who are going to either make us richer or at least maintain our level of wealth. So as long as these long-term economic trends continue, that the economy is doing well, people are going to vote for the party that is allowing this to happen. In this case, it was the Republican Party. It was thanks to their programs. Now, most observers agree that Texas has experienced party realignment. Once again, this is just a transition from one stable party system to another. After more than a century of Democratic Party domination, starting after the Civil War, the pendulum has swung the other way. It is now the Republicans' turn to be in charge. However, some people are not saying that we went through a political realignment. Instead, they're saying that we went through a de-alignment. And de-alignment is simply that the voters are refusing to identify with either political party. They're calling themselves independent. We are seeing split ticket voting in Texas, and we'll talk about this the next discussion. They are not voting for all Democrats, or they're not voting for all Republicans. We are actually paying attention to issues. We are paying attention to candidates, and we are willing to vote across party lines. We will vote Republican in one race, but if we think the Democrat is the best candidate in the second race, we'll vote Democrat. We are not beholden, or we are not tied to one party. We are truly independent. Now, 2008 did throw a monkey wrench into this thought process. In 2008, the election, we saw more people return to partisan identification. We did see more people identify as either Republican or as Democrat. But since then, 2010 election, 2012 election, 2014 election, we have seen more people calling themselves independent. Can Texas be a competitive Democratic state? It's a good question. And we have people out there who are trying to work for the Democratic Party to make it. They want, when you refer to states, you may hear a reference to a red state or a blue state. Red state means that they're going to vote Republican. Blue state means they're going to vote Democrat. Texas has been a solidly red state for the last 10 plus years. There are people out there who are trying to make Texas a blue state, a Democratic state, or at least a purple state, to make it where Republicans have to work to win Texas votes. Can Democrats do this? It's possible. It is possible for Texas to become an active state again, to become in play, if the Democrats can make inroads with the minorities, if they can keep the minority vote, if they can keep the women vote. We are seeing the thought process Democrats will become competitive again no later than 2025, because historically minorities have voted Democrat. We know from our previous discussions, Caucasians are no longer the majority, they're a plurality. We are seeing an increase in minority voters. So yes, we could see Texas become a Democratic state again, and in the not too distant future, in the next 10 to 20 years. Politically speaking, 10 to 20 years is nothing.